Congratulations, Coach, and to the LA Galaxy who have qualified for the 2026 CONCACAF Champions Cup. Damien, we'll get started with you.
And Damien.
Congratulations. What does this mean for the group, what you guys have gone through this season? How big is this moment for inside that locker room?
Yeah, I think it's just really important from a couple aspects. Obviously, our season hasn't gone at all to plan or how we would hope. But this is a challenging tournament. You know, there's the best teams from two leagues. Hard to get to this point, and our group has been really good through the tournament. Obviously, didn't get through the Seattle game, but showed up today, and it's tough conditions, 2:00 in the afternoon, and really hot, and both teams are a little bit fatigued with everything going on. So the group, they grinded and got a result. So I think in a season that's been really difficult, it's good to have the opportunity today, and the guys did it, to take away something important like Champions League, because it's a big event, and the LA Galaxy should be in Champions League. That's one of the expectations I think we should have of ourselves, is to try to be in these big competitions. And so getting ourselves in there, I think, is big for this group. To finish third out of, 36 teams that started this from two leagues, shows that there's something in this group, and we haven't seen it so much in the league play all the time on a consistent basis, but it shows something that this group has some spirit and has some quality enough to get through this type of event and take something away.
And then after they scored the equalizer, momentum had started to turn a little bit, but to get the goal from Joseph to sort of put you guys back on top, could you just walk us through that moment and then his performance tonight as well?
Yeah, I thought a bit there in the second half we were getting really passive and not really getting to the ball at all, and there was just momentum building off. I think Marco had come off a couple other maybe adjustments right about that time, and we just hadn't really settled into how we could be a little more aggressive to get pressure, or even getting a hold of the ball and getting it out of our half. And obviously we take a goal. I think once we took a goal and were able to really get resettled in, I thought we were able to shift the game into their half of the field a little bit. The goal comes off of just a bunch of relentless effort on the press and counter press and just digging out things until we were able to dig one out and get it moving forward, and then a great finish from Joe. But I think it was where we were a little bit passive on the defensive side for stretches prior to and giving up the goal. I felt like there was a little stretch after the goal where we were able to get the ball forward, and it was just the sheer work of a handful of guys to dig that ball out and keep it in an attacking position, and Joe turned it into a goal. So we were able to find some other chances on the other side of that. Obviously, Mickey having one. Again, I'm going to say this because I've said this for many, many years, our league, and I say this league, we're so far along, and these games are so important now. To not have some version of goal line technology is criminal at this point. We have to be far enough along in this league, and like I said, whether it's Leagues Cup or MLS, is too important game to game that we don't have a tool like that. So, hell of a save. I do think he was behind the line, but I think it was a hell of a reaction and a save for him. But there was little moments like that became big in the game as well.
Hi, Greg. We saw a couple of players come off limping, or Garces, Marco, Ade a little bit. Wondering if you have any thoughts on where they are, and also maybe an update on Nasi, and how all this plays in that we've got a break coming up, but you got to go to Houston because of weather.
Yeah. Injury report. So I pulled Emiro out at halftime. Look, he was a warrior to even want to get into this game and want to play, and I felt like we just needed him. We needed his presence. We needed some of the things that he could bring to us. We had given up some relatively soft goals in the games prior, and I just felt like everybody needed to see Emiro out there. So he was nowhere near 100%, but he was doing, the job that he needed to do. When I saw him go down in that moment, it looked like a few days before the last game, the day before the last game when we considered him, a similar type of situation. Wasn't much, but just where he really had to accelerate and decelerate, and you see that he wasn't there yet. Being up 1-0, he gutted it out to halftime, and I just felt like we needed somebody who wasn't managing both the heat and an injury and whatever else was going to be thrown their way. So he wanted to stay out there, so it wasn't a popular decision between he and I, but I felt like from the group, he had done the work that he needed to do on the day, and now we needed to close the thing out. So as for, I think the next one might have been Marco. Yeah, there was an action or something where he cut the ball back, and he said he just felt a little bit of a tweak and some instability. I don't know if it's anything significant, really. My guess is probably not, because they're looking at him now, but it was definitely something where he wasn't feeling very comfortable. And again, a day where you're managing a lot of variables out there. It was time to get him out. Julian was, I feel like Julian went on and he was, Julian's over-aggressive self sometimes, and getting himself into these really weird positions and situations where he gets emotional. And I think, that leaves him into these, it left him a little bit vulnerable, and he got into that play in the box, which, maybe it's a good play, but he ends up coming up with an ankle issue. And he was hurting. So once he was pulled off, he's like, I can't really run. So we couldn't keep him in a defensive position. So he made him the 9. He ends up making 2 pretty good plays. One to wiggle out somehow of a situation and get Gabe going forward. And then the other was a little header that he knocked down to Gabe, which again, both just good stuff by him to just keep himself useful on the field, even though he was struggling. Was there anyone else? I feel like there. Nasi update. To be honest, he hasn't even really gotten off the table in the last four days, which is surprising because didn't come across as something super significant, but I feel like he just hasn't felt like he can move, and they've been trying to get him going a little bit. So it maybe there's something within the tendon area that's not healing as fast as we would like, but I think he's starting to progress. I mean, he's been moving around a little bit more in the last few days, just not enough to be even close to playing. Yeah, it's difficult. What I would say is maybe by not playing in Houston going into Leagues Cup, it was able to give us a little bit of a rest to then make a great run into Leagues Cup, and now we got to circle around and play the game. So we'll do a check, as we always do, see who's ready and who's healthy and who's available and all those good things, and we'll put a group out there to compete. But this next stretch of season is an opportunity for a lot of guys to try to come along, try to prove their value for what's to come, and gain some experience and all those kinds of things as well. So these are all going to be valuable moments down the stretch.
Hi, Greg. Congratulations on the victory. You mentioned it briefly. Out of 36 teams that competed, you guys were the top 3. These are arguably the best 36 teams in North America. It's definitely no small achievement to be in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Given what's gone on with the league and how you guys kind of were able to catapult in this tournament, did you feel like you maybe learned something new about this group, or maybe did you see something different about the team that kind of propelled you guys to be able to make this kind of run in this tournament?
Yeah, I would say I didn't learn a ton. I mean, I think through the better part of this event until the very end, we were able to stay pretty healthy, and in doing so, we had largely a consistent group of players that were able to carry us through and we were playing at home, and that's good for rest and recovery. You play at home, you're able to use probably arguably your best group as much as you can through the course of this. We saw some of the exposure, I guess, when you're having to really rotate towards the end due to injuries and other things. But I felt like when our intensity is right, when we have our best group out there in the best positions that we can, and again, like I say, our intensity is right and our intentions are right, and the ball's moving fast and we're moving for each other and we're committed to both sides of the ball. When we're solving problems, as we did against, largely the Mexican League teams who were trying to high press us, one up man to man, I felt like we did a great job of breaking press and using our speed on the other side of that to get through those early rounds. So I think we grew as a group inside of it. I don't know if I learned a lot about our group inside of it. I was proud of our group today because it was just the second half was just a knuckle down and get through it. And it was a very different type of win where we just had to grind it out down the stretch and had to rotate. And we were gone through a couple different shapes and sliding guys into different roles, things like that. So, but I think I'm proud of the group for doing so and for taking something out of a tournament that is difficult. Again, there's a lot of really good teams in this tournament, and it says something that there is something in this group. And for us, it's about being able to put it together week in and week out, being able to make rotations and change guys in the course of the game and maintain a high standard, not making our individual errors through the course of things. So there's still a lot for us to take away, but proud of the group for really fighting together, and I think having a really good tournament and getting something out of it.
Hey, Greg. Congratulations on the win today. With Amito's exit, we saw Chris Randolph come on. Can you talk to us about his emergence over the last couple of games, and then if you potentially see a place for him in the first team next year?
Yeah, I thought I liked when Chris started the other night. I thought he was very solid, just very professional in the way he goes about his business. I've seen it all year in the second team. I feel like he's one of the real stabilizing forces to that group, and I've seen that over the course of the season as I've gotten to know him and see him do his work on a daily basis. He is one of the most disciplined individuals in this building, and I think he plays the game in a very disciplined way, in a very focused way. So when he played the other day and got that 90 minutes in, I thought he looked very stable, very solid with and without the ball. So I thought on that day he earned himself another opportunity. And so we went with him. And I thought he stepped in and he did a nice solid job, had some key clearances in the box. He's a very good jumper and he's a good header of the ball. He will block and put his body in front of things. He got a little over aggressive a couple situations where there wasn't pressure on the ball and he got sucked in, but I think he adapted once I was able to say hold your position a little longer and work with him. But I was really pleased with him. There's an opportunity for him for sure, and down the stretch here there's going to be an opportunity for him to continue to compete and show that that he's ready for the MLS level and ready to be a consistent part of our group. But there's definitely going to be an opportunity for him to do that.
We've seen Diego Fagundes play out of position or maybe find a new position, if you will, this year. How important has his transition been to that role? And then how important is he as a kind of stabilizing force in the locker room? Thank you.
Yeah, Diego is undoubtedly one of sort of our leaders in the group. He's a connector. I mean, Diego is friends with everybody. He has the ability to speak honest to anybody at any time without people taking it personal. He just has a way of connecting with individuals inside of there, and that's one of the things in the locker room that he brings. He's a funny guy. At the same time, he knows when to shift it into being serious, and he knows how to deliver a message to this guy or that guy or anybody else. So he's very good and very mature on that side of things, connecting with the young guys, connecting with the older guys. He does a great job. On the field, I just think he plays with his brain first and foremost, and so he understands almost every position on the field and what is expected of that position or that role. And if we have to adapt inside of the game, he's able to adapt inside of the game. And so today we used him, I think, in 3 different positions at least. He started at sort of the left wing where he was defending low in the back 5, but attacking kind of as the winger. Then we actually brought him in to where he was playing more out of a diamond type of position in the midfield. Then we put him at false 9. So, he would flow inside of the game. And I know that doesn't matter what role you put him in, he's going to adapt to that role. And again, a lot of our substitutions aren't necessarily like for like, because there are positions where we don't have guys that are exactly like the other guys. And so Diego is a guy that I don't have to necessarily always get off the field. I can move him into a different role and put somebody in a role that they're more comfortable with. And that's huge. You got to have versatile guys like that. And so he gives me that flexibility. And Marco's similar, but we had to get Marco out today, obviously. So that meant more roles for Diego. So for us, in terms of big picture, he's settled into that second pivot, again, because I think he's such a good game reader and he understands time and space and how to work in relationship with Edwin, for example. He gets himself organized to play forward, which is one of the things I think we've struggled with a little bit as a group over the season, is replacing when Ricky comes low and plays forward through the lines and it accelerates our attack. I think Diego's given us a little bit more of that as of the last second half of the season that we weren't really getting in the first half of the season. It coincides with, I think, some of our results kind of improving, as the Diego's giving us a little bit, I think, of that, some of the things that we've been lacking at time, and it gives the younger guys that are coming along, the Lucas, Elijah, and those guys, it's going to give them a chance, hopefully, to continue to evolve their game so that they will be ready to step in when they're ready. And Diego has given us that, some of that detail that I think we've been missing. Thank you.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for your time.
Yep.
So today was your guys' 9th match in the last month. Are there any changes that you would make to this tournament in terms of like scheduling or logistics for future editions?
It's interesting. I haven't thought about it a ton. What I have thought about is, last year we basically took a break for the whole tournament. We happened to be one of the teams that went out in the first round, and it was disastrous trying to figure out how to fill 2 weeks of training and trying to figure out how to get games and how to keep a team sharp for the restart of MLS. So that was difficult. And I felt like it tends to lead maybe to even more injuries because your team is like playing a ton of games and then playing no games. And then you're on the tail end where you're chasing a playoff spot for many of those teams. And then it's like, boom, you're back at it crazy. So I feel like that isn't a great way to do it. This way, I think it suits more teams, meaning, once it starts up again, there's a lot of other teams that aren't just sitting around. There's other teams that are getting on with the league. I appreciate that they moved our game. And for this weekend, obviously, we couldn't have played both. But if there's a way that teams that are in it to be able to adjust a game or here so that we're not playing so many games, it's really the games that come back to back to back. And so I don't know what the best answer is, but I know when you go out of a tournament like this, you have a bunch of teams that aren't into the Final Four or the final however many, and they should get back to work and doing the things that they need to do. So I don't hate it. I think I like it better this way than the last way, to be honest, and I hope they keep it more like this. And it's just up for us to adapt. Last thing I'll say is we got to play every game at home, and that's a benefit. Orlando had to play here, fly back, then play here again. That's not easy. So a lot of credit to them for just having to go through the difficult schedule and coming out and battling the way they did, because that's not an easy schedule either.
Last question.
Hi, Coach. Congrats on the win and also qualifying. Paintsill is a very aggressive player. How are you using his aggressiveness to influence your forward line?
Yeah, I think, with Joe, we've been tinkering around a little bit with some of his positioning. Sometimes when he's out in wide positions, we don't get him involved in the game enough. So we try to bring him a little bit more inside and get him a little more connected to Marco, a little bit closer to the goal and the game happening, which was a little bit tonight. When we used Julian to start in games prior, and we were releasing Julian to come higher. We were just trying to get Joe again closer to the ball, more where he can get to the front of the goal, where he can use his pace, not just in wide areas, because when he goes out to the wide areas to his left, there's times when he's able to get around the corner, but when he doesn't, he spins back out and the game comes back again. So I want to put him in positions where he can use his aggressiveness to create final actions, not just to necessarily drive us forward. And so, again, I think when he's relentless, his speed is so difficult for teams to deal with. When we are good in a low mid block and we can recover balls in good ways, his transition speed is incredible. So one of our shifts tonight was in the last game against Seattle, he ended up defending low a lot because of the height of Roldan on the right side. Coming in this game, we gave that role to Diego so that we could keep Joe higher, so that in transition positions, he would have the opportunity to release from a much higher position. Diego's flexibility gave us that possibility, and I think it helped Joe to be able to transition from higher positions up the field, not have to defend so low. So it's always, given the group of players we have or we put out, how we use Joe, we adapt with him. He's just another one, but we want to put him and Gabe and Marco and these guys in as many final actions as we can, because they're the players who need to score goals, get assists, do those types of things for us. So I love when Joe's aggressive. That's the key for Joe. When he can pass and move or move without the ball, he's almost impossible to deal with. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, thank you so much
All
for
right,
your
thanks,
time
everyone.
and support
Appreciate
throughout
it.
Leagues Cup.
Thank you.
Thank you.